I realized you were starting.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I got it recording. All right, cool. So anyway, welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a great weekend. I'm sure most of you have seen what's happening here in U.S. with all the challenges that are going on and everything that's happening. So we definitely need prayers from everyone. It's crazy. It's happening in a lot of different places, and it's a challenge that's been here for a long time. It just comes and goes, and hopefully one day it will just be everyone will learn how to live together peacefully, regardless of our skin color. That's what we're hoping for. Anyway, so let's start our program today. Today's program is about thankfulness and respect. I have selected two quotes, one from the Bible and one from the Baha'i writing, which are in regarding to the thankful tree that you will see later on in the lesson plan. So from Galatians in the Bible, it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And then from the Baha'i writing, it says, but the mind is the power of the human spirit. Spirit is the lamp, mind is the light, which shines from the lamp. Spirit is the tree, and the mind is the fruit. Mind is the perfection of the spirit, and it is essential quality, as the sun's rays are the essential necessity of the sun. So with that, I'll turn it to our facilitator today, Ms. Nari Cooper. Nari, you have the floor.
Okay, welcome everyone. And I know some folks are still joining in. Today, we are going to be focused on two things, thankfulness and respect. And hopefully you saw the little intro to the lesson that was out in our WhatsApp. Before we get into that, I did want to give folks an opportunity. If you had any comments on last week's lesson, and definitely any comments on the video that we saw that I asked everyone to try and watch before this class, because that video touched on both respect and thankfulness, and I gave a couple of questions. And so what I'm asking is that if you could share in the chat very quickly, I'll give like 1 minute or two for everyone to just sort of type in the chat what you thought about the video, and for you, how it related to either thankfulness, respect, or both. So if everyone could kind of go into the chat and try to do that, then I can share those and we can talk about them as we start to dig a little deeper into this lesson.
Nari, I'd like to say something. How many times have you watched that video? It's been thousands of times, and still every time I watch the video, it brings tears to my eyes. I don't know what it is. That video is so powerful. That's just my comment about it, a reaction about it.
Yeah, and it has so much in it. There's so many lessons in the one video. Now, I used to be able to tell my students that the stat at the end had gotten better because I was looking up some of the world hunger stats over the last few years, and they'd gotten better. But with the all of the impact of COVID, I'm scared they've probably gotten worse now because of food. There's definitely going to be even more food shortage issues around the world in the next year or so. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be more need to find ways to feed people who haven't been able to keep their farms going, et cetera, over these last few months.
And one other comment about this is something I share when I present is that often people think that we live in a country in US that has so much material stuff and so much resources and everything. But unfortunately, here in US, 1 out of every 4 child goes to bed hungry at night because they don't have enough food. So, and then yet, some of you who have seen videos or have ever visited US or lived here, know that how much food we waste. It is just crazy, that this imbalance that humans have created. We are not just thinking about other people. We're just thinking about ourselves, that, oh, we paid some money, so it's our right to waste as much as possible. So we have one comment from Hakeem. I learned from the video that I should be content and thankful to the Lord for such things as I have. Simon says, with regards to thankfulness, I learned that no matter how our situation of life may be, there's always something to thank God. So,
Yes.
all
And
right.
in the video, if someone wants to put in the chat, what were you the most struck by or affected by in terms of seeing either thankfulness or ingratitude, or in seeing respect or not seeing respect? What scenes in the video, or which parts of the video really showed you those things, or the lack of them?
All right. Should we move to?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
So we're going to talk a little bit about thankfulness and things that we're thankful for. And the way we do this in the classroom is we usually give the students a few minutes to make a list. And sometimes we'll do that list with the students, where we just sit down and just sort of, let them, call out different things that they're thankful for. And with children, it might be their parents or their life. It can go as granular level as air and water, or it could be their toys. And so right now, really quickly, if everyone just wants to type in one thing that they're thankful for, and we'll talk a little bit about what some of those things are. Alex, I don't think I control the workbook. Do you?
I have control. I can fill this up in.
So you can fill in some things.
Yeah.
So while everyone else is typing in things they're thankful for, let's you and I just type in a couple of the basics that usually show up, like air and water,
Okay.
family.
Yeah. So we have family.
Yeah.
As you said, let's put food.
Yep.
Water. Air. Anything else coming up in the chat? Okay.
And then housing, a home.
Yes, shelter.
Yeah, shelter. There you go. Transportation.
Yeah, health in here.
Yes, a lot of people put health. That's good.
Yep.
Let's see.
All right. So why don't you talk about the
okay,
columns?
and then there are other things that we're thankful for. Someone just put friends. That's great. Someone put friends. That's a good one. And there are things that we're thankful for. Like the gift of life. And a lot of times the first things we think of are the things that we're grateful for that are really important. A lot of things on this list are things that are really, really important. God and the gift of life. But there are also things we're thankful for that maybe aren't as critical and important. And so what are some of the things that you're thankful for that aren't as critical as food and water or life and health, but are still things that you're very thankful for? Maybe it's laughter. We like being with our friends. Imani, great one. The beach. Those of us in San Diego definitely took it to heart when the quarantine kept us from our beaches, because we're used to being able to go to the beach whenever we want. So they may not. Some things may not be as necessary. Music. Some of us love music and art a lot. We can certainly live without those things if we had to, but we wouldn't like it very much. With the children, they'll say they're thankful for their toys. And that's where these three columns come in, because with those three columns, it kind of helps you evaluate the essential needs. The environment, Alex, someone put in. There are some things that we're thankful for that we absolutely have to have. And then there are some things that we're thankful for that might be important to us or critical to us personally, but if we had to, we could live without them. And then there are those things that are purely, we're thankful for them, but it's purely because we like them. You know, one of my examples for that is chocolate. I like chocolate. I like shoes. I have way more shoes than I definitely need, but I love nice shoes. I'm thankful for them, but I'm willing to admit it's totally unnecessary to have as many pairs of shoes as I have. It just feels like it when I'm looking for something to wear. So we have to evaluate those things in our life that we might take for granted, and maybe we aren't as thankful as we should be, because those things aren't necessary. They're just blessings that we have that others may not have. The other thing, we're blessed. Oh, I like that one, Raymond. We're thankful for who we are. That's really good. And so we don't have to worry so much about trying to be like someone else or being someone else. Great. Thankful for technology and science. And those are perfect examples of things we're thankful for today. But for hundreds of years, people were managed to live without those two things. So we could live without them if we had to. And there are places, even in our world today, where people don't have the same levels of technology and science that we might be fortunate to have, even with being able to hold this class across the globe. That's an aspect of technology that we're very grateful for, especially here at Mind Treasures, being able to do this. But people, definitely other people on the planet right now don't have the same level of technology, and so wouldn't be able to have the benefit of this. So when we do our thankful tree, that's where we get to actually make a visual representation of all these different things. And if you can see the tree, Alex, let's turn to the tree, and I'll talk about that a little bit.
And then we'll want to come back to decide which one of these are must-have and live without. Is that what you want?
Okay, let's fill these in now, because I kind of talked about it because I didn't think we were going to have time to fill it all in.
No, we're doing good. We have time. We're good.
Okay, great.
So let's pick a few and see what people think. So let's get to the example of something that is a must-have.
So for family, let's have everyone type in family, whether they think it's must-have, important. Wait, I'm sorry.
Can live without, must-have, can live without, or is it unnecessary?
Yes, and to help you with that, because no one is usually going to say that something they're thankful for is unnecessary. So it might help you to think of must-have, can live without, and still necessary or important to you. I was going to mention one day, Alex, if we could change those 3 columns, especially for the children, because they just aren't going to say that something's unnecessary. Their toys are necessary as far as they're concerned. So more of a 1, 2, 3, or top priority, medium priority, less priority. But for right now, if everyone could just type in for family, Imani has told us she can't live without her family, right?
So I think consensus that family is something that we must have, even though that probably a lot of people lose their families, but that. All right, let's take another example. I think we can say that food, water, clothing, shelter, and air, those are absolute must-haves too.
Those are absolutely essential. If you don't have those, you don't have life, and the rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's pick one that we are, especially children, they're thankful for, and they think it's a must-have.
Like toys and games.
There we go. So what's everyone? And I know there are some children in the group probably today. If the parents can ask them, can they live without their toys and games?
Yeah. How would they rate their toys and games? How would they rate them on this list? And tell them they can be honest. They can tell us. We won't judge.
Right. I remember when we were growing up, I think most of us were growing up, we didn't have any of the technology that we have. So in class, usually when we discuss this with children as young as 8 or even younger, they're just amazed at how we grew up and we're still alive without having toys, and not toys, but having cell phones and video games and TVs and things like that. So I think
Well,
that's
okay, Alex, we had TVs. Don't make it sound like, was that?
I think I was about 6 or 7 the first time when we got. Remember, I didn't grow up in U.S.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we had our first TV when I was 6 or 7, something like that. I don't know exact year. All right.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. So yeah, yeah. So continuing. Yeah. Okay. So some of them we're getting a couple in today's world. In today's world, our kids cannot live without those. Unfortunately. Uh,
I, and I think that's so important because we have become the generation that's so spoiled and we don't realize. I know in our household, a few months ago, our boys were complaining so much that my wife says, okay, we put a board on our refrigerator. And she said, every day, each one of us have to write at least one thing we're thankful for.
good.
So we don't continue on complaining. So that was the exercise that we did.
That's a great idea.
Because we forget. I mean, we have so much. Even one thing that I want to say we are thankful for is having this group here. This is such a blessing to be able to do this. And knowing that, again, I've said it many times, what our friends in Africa are going through just trying to get into, dial into this forum here, because we know it's not easy. I guess it's not raining today because most people are coming in. That's something that we don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
So why don't we move on to the tree?
Yes.
And then, all right, go ahead.
Okay. So all of you online, you kind of get the idea. You would go through and you would rate all of those different items. And then the way that you can basically make a representation of it through a tree is you can think about the elements of a tree. I mean, the most critical aspect of a tree is the trunk. If you don't have the trunk, you don't have a tree, right? And that trunk needs to be strong and healthy, and it's absolutely essential. And so that's where you would actually write some of those things you're thankful for that are essential, whether it's life, food, water, air, health, time. Time is one of those things you're grateful for, and you don't know how much time you have on the earth. So it's kind of like the trunk of your tree, because if you don't use that time wisely and in a healthy manner and with respect, you won't make the most of all those other things you want. So the trunk is where you would write in those absolutely essential things that your life is kind of built on, like the trunk of a tree. Then you would go up a little higher towards the branches and put some of those other critical things, like having a family, having friends, having a home. And then as you branch out, you could put the things that are not as critical. Maybe it's music, maybe it's a car, because you need transportation, but technically, tons of people get around without a car. It might be clothes, or at least the level of as many clothes as we have. And as you get further out on the tree, up to in the smaller branches, it can be things that you're thankful for, but things that you really you could live without, because people are living without them, whether that might be music and art, or some of those kinds of things. And then on the ends of the trees, what I encourage people to do is to draw maybe flowers, and that could be those things in your life that aren't necessary but make your life more beautiful. So maybe that's where you put laughter and jewelry or things like that. And then you can make leaves, and those are the things that you're thankful for. But if those things blow away, your life, you really would be able to live. I encourage the kids to maybe put their iPhones on the leaves, Alex, to get them to think about, you really could live without an iPhone if you had to, because people have done it for thousands of years before us. And that's where you could put things like TV, those things that you might be spending a lot of time on, but they may not be that critical. You also can make fruit on your tree, and those are things you share. So like on my tree, I've got like chocolate on that tree. Chocolate's something I'm grateful for. I know it's not necessary, but I'll share it with others and we'll enjoy the chocolate. Or laughter. That's something you want to share with others. And it makes your life more, more rich, and it adds to your life. So you want to think about the different things you're thankful for and how they fit into your life. Are they things you share? Are they things you literally could not live without? Are they things that just make your life richer and better? And so if you want to put in the chat, maybe some of the things in your life that you're thankful for that you get to share with others, and things in your life that make your life more beautiful. Maybe you could type some of those things into the chat as we kind of switch gears, Alex. And
before we move on from the tree, and I apologize, I should have probably had a tree that has stuff in it already, so they could see. But let me mention a few things about the tree that I usually do in the class. So the idea of tree is that there's so many different aspects about the tree that we talked about. If you remember from day one, when we read from when we read from the different scriptures, that we need to learn from a flower or a tree. What does a tree do? It basically draws nutrients from the soil, from the sun, water God provides for it. And all it does, it concentrates on growing and being useful. So we know that trees provide clean the air for us. They suck in CO2 that we're all creating so much, and then breaks that down into the oxygen and the carbon. So that's one of the things. The other aspect about the tree is that when branches are cut, when we trim a tree, it does not die, but it grows bigger and stronger. But if we cut the tree from the trunk, it is very much dead. So that's why we put the life necessities in the bottom, and things that we have and we're thankful for in the branches. So now let's think about ourselves. When we give away our stuff, when we become fruitful, a tree, that's the comparison. That's why we have this. So we need to learn so much from the tree. I'm going to switch back to the quotes that we read this morning. And that's what I said, that today's lesson, that's why we selected these, because we want the fruit of our spirit. Remember, the treasures are all hidden within us, but we need to discover and develop them, these characteristics: being loving, have joy, peaceful, long-suffering, or sacrifice, being gentle, being goodness, and have faith. And then furthermore, it talks about that our spirit is the tree, and the fruit is the mind, because we always have, if you look at our lives, our mind is always want to go a little sideways, tell a little lie, not be generous, but then our spirits, our treasures say, no, we need to develop these characteristics. So when our mind is controlled by our spirit, that is when the perfection of the spirit is displayed. That's what happens. So, and it's a lifetime journey as we go through life, that we allow our spirit to take control of our lives, our spiritual muscles, these character traits, and not necessarily our mind, because our mind wants to be not thankful. Our mind wants to be complaining at all times that we don't have enough. So that's where the correlation is between our finances and, again, our spiritual life.
Thanks, Alex.
Sure.
So, okay, so we've got you want to do your list, and then I still didn't see very many people in the chat. I see lots of people did say what they were thankful for, which was really cool. A lot of great things there, whether and what they like to share, whether it's food and prayer, or singing, or knowledge. All of these really great things that are really the fruit and the flowers that we can share with others as we go through our daily life. And so when we talk about being generous, we're not just generous with money, we're generous with all these things that we see as our blessings. We can share those blessings with others.
Can I just mention that I just put education in there? So the video that's in a thankful lesson actually correlates directly to education. What we can do, maybe not after class, we can send the link to the video for this one, so they can watch it about importance of education and how parents sacrifice their lives. And then maybe tomorrow we can talk about it. All right.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, and as you're watching that video, I encourage you to think about what were the parents thankful for and what were the their children thankful for as you're watching it, and see how just in one family there was so much for them to be thankful for.
All right, should we go to respect?
Okay, so let's switch over to respect, which is really continuing the same conversation. In that list of things we were thankful for, there were things like air and water and food. And in that video, some of those same kinds of things, especially food, was one of the things that it was shown in that video. And so what we want to think about is, in terms of respect, in our chat, if you could put in examples in the video of where there was respect. In this case, let's just to narrow it down for the discussion, where there was respect for food and where there wasn't respect for food in the video. So if you want to quickly add that in the chat so that we can talk about that a little bit more, because we want to talk about how we show our respect. Okay. And notice in your book, or even here, the goal here is to learn to live a respectful life. And that's both in speaking and acting respectfully. And that's not just treating others with dignity and honor, but also things, you know. If our children are thankful for their toys, they'll respect those toys and take care of them. And believe me, when you ask kids, you know, how are you, you know, do you respect your toys? And how do you show respect for your toys? They'll tell you, oh, then I'll take care of the toys that I'm thankful for. If they're not thankful, they aren't going to take care of them. When I ask them to, how do you show respect for your parents? Most of the kids will say, oh, I'll listen to them and I'll obey them. And I'll say that after they've talked about being thankful for their parents, right? Alex someone just typed in environment. That's a great one, because how do we show that we're thankful for the planet that we live on and that we respect the environment? Feel free to type in some ways that we can show that we respect air and water, that we respect energy, that we respect our environment. So those are some things we can type into the chat real quickly, and we can talk about those some more as we think about that video and what it showed us.
Okay, so we have a couple of things in here. It says, Simon says, I think the family received the food with gladness, and all of them showed interest in the food. We have recycled from Judy. Let's see, respect for animals. That's a good one.
Yes.
I think often, well, I think there are two challenges in our societies these days. One is that we have become so irrespectful. We just don't respect anything, just like we are not thankful for anything, for the things that we have, we don't respect them. And then that is creating so much waste. So one thing that we don't respect, or we say, this is something that I have seen with food particularly, I see a lot of people pray before they eat their food, just like the family. But then yet again, in our society, I'm mostly talking about the developed societies, we pray before we eat our food, but then we throw half of it away. And it's like, if I were somebody who prepared the food, it's like you're thankful for it, you pray for it, but then you're throwing away. Where is the balance in here? So those are the things. So it's not only recognizing what we respect, but also how are we disrespecting our resources, our time. I think that's another one, that we're not respecting our time. Both children and adults, we're spending so much time on our devices, either playing games or being on social media, just being nosy about what our friends are doing, what they're not doing. Let's see. I respect the water by not wasting. Water is another one. Yep, water we have in there.
And so, Alex, a lot of what you're saying gets us back to almost the introduction of these lessons.
Mhm.
All of this comes also back to our habits. So as we build these treasures, our habits change. As we build the habit of respect for water, we don't waste water. As we build the habit of electricity, we don't turn on the television and the lights and the music in one room and then walk into another room and turn on the lights in that room and leave all the other things burning. We turn off the water while we're brushing our teeth. We develop habits that actually show our respect for these things. We'll get less food and eat that and then get more if we're still hungry and not waste food. And we'll have a habit of doing that as we really put into practice what it means to respect these things that we're thankful for and that we realize we shouldn't be wasting and that we should be respecting. We'll respect our time and not waste it. We'll schedule out, here's time to get things done. Here's time to serve others. Here's time to spend spiritually, whatever that might be, whatever those things are that are important in your life, you'll build the habits around those things. So definitely in the chat, put in some ideas of how we can build the habits so that we're being respectful to all these things that we know are important, but we don't always live like they're important.
So the question in the chat is, how do you see either yourself or other people disrespecting some of the things that, like, how do we disrespect our environment? What are we seeing that's being disrespectful to the environment? We talked about time, animals. What do we see that, how do people disrespect animals? What are they doing? Food, I think we'll talk about, we saw in the video, we'll talk about it a little bit more down there.
Right.
And if there are other things that we see that either ourselves, let's start with ourselves. I think it is so easy to judge other people and pick what other people are wasting and not ourselves. It's so easy. And I will put something in the quote for tomorrow as who's the only it's not a person that can judge everyone. None of us have any rights to judge other people. So we need to start with our own selves. What are our habits? What are we doing that's being disrespectful?
Right.
All right. Let's see.
Okay.
What are other things that we can write? How are we doing on time? We should actually move forward. We can continue talking about this.
Right.
So we watched the video. All right. I think getting into, do we want to do that? When do we want to do the chicken and egg thing?
Let's do that before we run out of time, because this activity helps us really recognize, because sometimes we don't realize, Alex just said, make a list of the ways we're wasting. Maybe we don't recognize it because it doesn't seem that significant. And so one of the questions we ask, and it could be different in different places, but how much, who had an egg, who had eggs for breakfast this morning? And how much does an egg cost? And I don't, I'm not sure there, but here you can literally buy a dozen eggs for $1, in most stores when you catch them on sale.
So let's start with that question. How much does, let's say, 12 eggs cost in your country? Do you guys hear the background noise, or is it okay? My background noise. There's some background noise in my area, or is it okay?
I think we're fine, Alex.
All right. Okay. All right. So the question is, how much do you pay to buy 12 eggs in your city, in your country? And then we'll move into, I'll pull up the blank sheet.
Yes.
So this is a blank sheet, and I have this one filled up.
And then, Alex, you want to walk through this, or do you want me to?
Sure. Yeah, I can walk through this because this is dear to my heart. This is
yes. Okay, Alex, go
so
for it.
we have response 16 cents, which is about, if I'm not mistaken, 17 cents, about $1. So that's about $1 in Ghana. That's what it is in Ghana. So I grew up with my grandfather he was an entrepreneur. He did so many different things, and he had a chicken farm, a big chicken farm. So eggs were always an abundance in our household. It was actually to the point that often we would ask our grandma, can we have something that doesn't include egg in it? She had put egg in everything, every type of food. Um, all right, so we're getting that. And then, but I learned the process of, and he would bring in like about 50,000 little chickens, and then they would grow. He would have this huge barns. We would have to vaccinate them, take care of them. And I know one time all of the chickens died. I think they caught a disease or something, so they all died. So that's why we put this exercise here to see what it really takes to have more eggs from one egg that's fertilized. So the other question that I like to pose, I'm not sure if Immaculate is here because she knows the answer. Uh, how long, if I have one egg and I'll keep it warm, how long does it take for the egg to hatch? So the question is, and I'm amazed at how many people actually don't know the answer to this. It is exact science. How many days or how many weeks it takes for an egg to hatch if the chicken sits on it or we keep it in a warm place? Felicia gave it away. Okay, it's exactly 21 days. I think in the classes that I teach, most of the students have no idea. They talk about all right, so so they know it. Uh, so the point of this exercise is that what it takes. So if you have one egg, I'm gonna switch over to the completed sheet over here. I hope you can see it. It probably makes it a little bigger.
Okay, why does my say 27 now? It's weird. You and I don't agree.
All right, so let's say we have 3 eggs. We can either, this is one egg, and then these are the two other eggs. We can consume all 3 of them in one day for breakfast. I think most people can do that.
Yeah, make an omelet.
And what's that? Make an omelet, exactly.
Make an omelet.
That's so easy. So instead of consuming all 3 of them, our idea is that let's take 2 of them to keep ourselves going, but then let's invest one and see how long it takes for it to hatch and then to have more eggs from this. So as we said, it takes about 3 weeks for an egg that's fertilized. You cannot take an egg from the refrigerator because that will not work. It has to be fertilized. And then you keep it in a warm place for 3 weeks and then a little chick. And please, nobody can laugh on my drawing. That looks more like a duck than a chicken, but it does the job. So our chicken now is not capable of, our little chick is not capable of laying any eggs. So the next stage in this process is for the chick to grow up to become a young chicken. And that takes about 26 weeks or so. It's not exact science, but it takes about that long. Now our chicken is ready, or our duck for that matter, to start laying eggs. So now from that one egg that we started from here, now we have a lot more eggs, and this chicken can lay eggs for many days to come. So we'll give the chicken another week for it to get settled and start laying eggs. The eggs from the farm to the house, if we don't have chickens inside our house, it takes let's say another 2 weeks or so to get to our home before we have it as a scrambled egg, as an over easy, or whatever our favorite type of egg is. So when we add all these weeks together, we come out to 32 weeks or 4 months. So even though that we pay very little, it's like into the pennies, or I'm not sure what is the smaller denomination from SID, we don't pay necessarily attention, and we see that how much food we waste. But during this process, if we had cracked all 3 eggs and ate 2 of them and then couldn't eat the 3rd one, we had disrespected the little chick, the chicken, all the eggs, the farmer, the truck driver that brought the eggs from farm to the supermarket, the cook that makes it. So we see that just a simple act of throwing one egg away is so disrespectful to everything. But then yet, if we invest that one egg, we have so much more from it but we have to wait. We have to wait 4 months
Alex,
or
Alex, isn't that 8 months?
oh, sorry, 8 months. I teach finances. I don't do math.
Good one. All right.
And I probably used a spreadsheet or a calculator to calculate this, and that's what I came up with. So you're absolutely right. It's 8 months. So I'm never a good accountant. I can teach finances, but not a good accountant. So that's the purpose of this. It's very fun for the students when we do it in classroom. They get to color their chicks, they get to understand, and we always have even little plastic eggs that they can see what's happening. So Larry, back to you. Now that I miscalculated my weeks or months.
That's okay. Thank you. Okay, so any like comments or questions, type them into chat about this concept, especially when you think about the fact that it combines both the thankfulness and respect aspects that we've been talking about with you respect it enough that you don't want to consume everything. You want to make sure you have something that you can invest in the future to continue providing for yourself and your family. So just with something as basic as an egg, you can show that we can do the same thing with other resources, that as we show respect for them and build the habit of, whether it's the habit of not using everything, having some things that you're investing to have more in the future, habits of not wasting. I'd really like to see some examples from you as we're going through this of what kinds of things you can think of about what has been wasted and how we can stop wasting it. So I think we sort of already talked a little bit about how some things are wasted, but Alex, can we go down to the next item? And those that maybe already were able to get to do some of these assignments in advance, if you could give us some of your examples that you put in of solutions to stop wasting. So we can talk about that a little bit before Alex goes to the register book and introduces the next lesson for tomorrow.
So I think someone put in there not wasting water. So let's talk about that first. How is water wasted? Please in the chat, put in how either yourself or you see other people waste water. Let's concentrate on that.
Good.
Because often we don't think that what we do is wasting. We think that, oh, this is normal. Everybody does it. So there's a question. The 3A concept, I am wondering why not invest 2 of the eggs and eat 1? It's up to you. I think how many you like to invest, and it could be that would be a sacrifice, delaying your gratification. So that was just an example. And I think it was even the question came up last week when somebody said, how much should I save? Should I save or should I invest more? It's really up to the individuals, I think, to decide. Nobody can say we have a brain that we can decide, can I live on 1 egg? Is that healthy? Is that healthy enough? So that's what we're thinking about. All right, we waste water by using too much in the closet. Okay, all right, like flushing about 3 times. All right. Water, I asked them not to and made them aware that other people may not have some. So often in the school, I like to say for like our young ones that are starting to grow beards, or even when people brush their teeth, we don't have to keep the water running when we brush our teeth. That is something that we definitely don't have to do, but some people think that it makes our teeth wider if the water is running. And this is very serious. I had one student that said, my grandmother said, keep the water running when you brush your teeth. And I said, why? Please ask your grandma, what difference does it make? So that is something that often people tell us, and it goes back to independent investigation of truth. Just because someone tells us something, that doesn't mean it's correct. That doesn't mean it's right. So Water, I would say, how we're wasting, toilet, flushing, and so forth. Let's put something else in here. Electricity.
Electricity.
I think, Nari, you talked a little bit about it. They call me the light police. Uh, Everywhere I go. And often we think about that, well, I'm not paying for this. So let's say in the office or in school, it is not my money that I'm paying. So what if I leave the lights on? It's the school system or somebody else. So I should only worry about the light in our house. But I'd like you to think about this. The money is ours. Yes, I worked for it. I uh, deserve it, but then the resources such as food, electricity, and water, everything else, that belongs to the whole society. That belongs to the whole humanity. So we can waste our money as bad as we want. I mean, as much as we want, no problem. But that does not give us the right to waste everything else. Emmanuel, okay. Emmanuel says wasting air through pollution. Exactly. We are not being considerate. We have become such a selfish society and generation that we only think about ourselves. One thing we didn't talk about, and I really want to, is this thing that has become such a huge part of our lives uh, that we don't even think about it. Bottled water, uh, plastic utensils, plastic bags. And we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow because that's part of our shopping lesson. Uh, it, I think it's just because it's there, we grab it and don't think about how is that affecting our society and our future generations. So again, tomorrow we'll talk about how plastic is doing. Waste too much water by washing our cars. That could be something. Currently in Ghana, the government has observed the bills for the use of water since May. It was seen on social media, people connecting tubes to their taps just for bath. Uh, and I think that brings us to a point that sometimes governments can and they try to help us and control us. But ultimately, as Nari was saying, these are habits that we have to develop. People should not be policing us. We should be policing ourselves to do as much good as we can. So later on in your groups, in your family, you can definitely listing out what we waste and how we can stop by wasting them, not only in our personal life, in our family, because ultimately it does affect our finances, even when we don't think. So tomorrow I will share with you the cost of a plastic bottle as opposed versus what we get out of the sink, and it's crazy the price difference. All right, Nari, do we have anything else for these before we got about 10 minutes before I go to our budget and talk about tomorrow's?
Well, no, I think we probably want to at least take this 10 minutes and go for it. You better start with the
Okay.
register book, and that way you can see if there's questions about tomorrow's assignment. So you can
Okay.
give some
All right.
that.
So going back to our budget sheet, I think this is another way of looking at. I have not had a chance to look and see how many individuals are actually doing their budget and in the income and expense, but this can be something else that show us how much we waste and how we waste it. Any question? Does anybody have any question about how the budget sheet works? If you have time over the weekend. So if you have any question about the budget sheet, please post it in the chat. Again, it is so important. You'll be surprised at how much the budget sheet brings forward as what we are doing with our money. We don't often think about where our money goes. Uh, but once we do this exercise, we see not only it allows us to plan for the future, but also it's a great tool for us to see what did we do with our money. For example, here in US, drinking coffee outside in Starbucks, that has become so normal. And unfortunately, a lot of times, almost every time when people go to Starbucks and get a coffee, there's another single-use piece of plastic that ends up in the trash. It is very sad. That's what's happening. So we pay, I think Starbucks coffee here is about $6 or $7. That is like the minimum, small one that we get. But those $7 and $6 add up very quickly. We don't see it, but it adds up very quickly. So I don't see any questions or anything about the budget sheet. Let's talk about, Imani, you want to talk about tomorrow's lesson about moderation, if you're available? That's sure. I know
Alex, Timothy has a question he just posted.
Oh, sorry, thank you. All right, under the invest in the budget, what happens in your money if your money is really too small to invest? There are different ways. So I know here in US, we have, there are apps that you can even invest $1. I don't know if in your country, if in Ghana or other countries, there's such a things available. So that would be a question for our friends in different countries, if such a things are available that you can even invest $1 in stocks. That's what it is. In US, we have apps or systems that allow for that kind of investing. And don't think of invest just in the, I mean, it could, as long as you're saving it, it could be used for future. If it's small, it will grow. Have the discipline of not touching your invest until it becomes sizable enough that can be used. I don't know if anybody else has any other responses to this question. Can think of how else people can invest if it's little money, not so much. Okay. All right. Imani, would you like to share tomorrow's lesson, or should I? Oh,
sure. Well, we have quite a few lessons, which is moderation being one.
Let me get there, please.
And in moderation, we definitely have to create balance with our time, which is one of our homeworks. And creating a grocery list is another homework. And I know we have truthfulness, and I'm not sure on truthfulness as homework.
As homework, okay.
It's the shopping list.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfulness is the shopping.
That's the shopping list. So I put it with moderation. Yep. So we're actually going shopping then for truthfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going shopping tomorrow, Alex. We're going.
Yes, we're going shopping. So we are creating our list.
So we're doing both. We're creating our list and going grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. And I know we're also doing our family and business finances. And so exactly what is our homework for that, Alex?
So there's a homework for that. So for this one, let's do an example. So I think often when we go shopping, we don't think about everything that we need. And we think that we have it in our brain. But then when we arrive at the store, this is how I am. I mean, you can see I divided 32 by 4 and I came up with 4, not 8. That's how much my brain works with numbers. So if you're going shopping and we want to buy different items, I just put one in here. We need to make a list of how much rice we need. So let's say if we need 2 kilos of rice, 2. The unit, this is a great way of teaching young children about the different units for how things are measured. So this would be a kilogram. And then when we go do the shopping, we'll find out how much a kilogram of rice costs. So let's say if it's 1 cent or $1, we will ask you tomorrow. So then we have 2 in here. That's how it works. So we'd like everyone to create a shopping list of, let's say, 1 week worth of what you buy from the supermarket for either yourself, for your family. So we have an idea. I think the worst thing that happens is we walk into a store and don't remember what we needed. So that's this exercise here. The other one that Imani mentioned is being able to balance our time. Often we don't think about how important it is to budget our time. And the way it works, let's think about your free time from the time you come home from either work or school. Let's say you have 4 hours available. You can do this either in minutes or you can do it in hours. So 4 times 6 is 240 minutes. Am I correct? Is my math correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we are supposed to read for, let's say, 30 minutes every day. So as you see, we allocated, and the B is the column for budget, and then A is for actual. So we're supposed to read for 30 minutes. I have 240 minutes for Monday. Let's say it's my turn to cook, and it will take me 60 minutes to prepare and cook the dinner. So we put all that information in. Wash dishes. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, maybe 15 minutes. I'm fast, or 20. So you see that the number is changing. And then I'm going to, on Monday, I really like to watch this movie or something that's on TV. And that is 100, it's a 2-hour movie. So I only have 15 minutes left in here, but then yet I was supposed to also, let's say, visit family. So I only have 15 minutes left, and probably that is not enough to visit the family. So if I want to allocate 1 hour to visit the family, I run out of time. Maybe I shouldn't watch this movie today. I should watch it at a different day. So you see how this works? And then on Tuesday or the following week, I will come back and say, yes, what I actually did, I didn't read anything. I did my cooking. Washing dishes took a little longer because I was sloppy, and so forth. I did visit my family for 90 minutes. So you see how this sheet works. These are the 2 exercises that you have, completing your shopping list for 1 week worth of supermarket purchases, and then also try to create a time management and making sure that often we spend so much time even at home for work. So we bring our work to home that we don't leave any family time, making sure that we leave family time.
So Alex, just to clarify for them, are they only filling out the budget side
Yes.
this time, right now, not the actual side?
Not the actual, yes. So let's have a budget of how you will spend your free time for next 5 days, for next 6 days or 5 days or so. All right, so the question from Sam, is the time management going to be for the whole week or only Monday? I would say do it for the whole week. Yes, do the whole week. Just as we do the budget for our financial budget for 1 year, let's do this for 1 whole week. That would be great to do 1 whole week. All right, we are almost out of time. Any other questions? Any other comments from our staff? You're good? Okay, so thank you so much again, everyone, for coming and keeping us company. Really enjoy spending time with you guys, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Nari. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Nari.